Welcome to the world of listening. Listening is the single most important technique that a salesperson needs to learn. This little technique on its own will give you 40% more success. Now there's about 6 steps in the listening technique that will make a difference. First one, so that's number 1, is learn to smile. Now, smiling is a real great thing to do with your customers. And you'll find that if you smile at people, you don't use as much energy. 13 muscles smiling, 87 frowning. So think about the power of that smile. You can practice it at the traffic lights, you can practice it talking to people on the street, you can practice it on your webcam, just smiling at people, and it encourages them to relax. And the next most important thing that we've got to do is to ask a question. Now typically most questions are can, did, have, are, and they all end up with a yes-no answer. Now yes-no is a waste of time. If you ask a closed question, which is what they're called, you'll end up with a yes-no answer and you have to ask another question. So it's hard work. So change your mindset. Never ask another question starting with can, did, do or have. Start asking questions with these magic words. What, when, where, which, why, who. And you'll find when you ask an open-ended question you get answers, which means that you save time, but the customer does the thing they want to do best of all, which is talk about themselves. So asking an open-ended question really works. Now take a moment and think of an open-ended question you could ask one of your customers. How did you hear about us? What do you want us to achieve? When would you like it done? Where do you actually want to have the plant located? Those sort of questions, open-ended questions. Now write it down. If you're thinking about asterisking an important point, do it, because this is the real value point. Okay, next important step. Stop talking. Shut up. Cease talking. Do anything that you can to let the customer reply. Now there's some things you can do. Here's a very easy one. That's right, nod your head. Just nod your head while you're talking to the customer and they'll keep talking because they can see it's a non-verbal affirmation. Now here's another really good one. See this pen in my pocket here? Pull out a pen. On your notepad, start writing some notes. Just holding the pen on the piece of pad signifies I'm listening. Holding the pen in your hand says I'm listening. I'm a man of action. The pen is the salesperson's most powerful tool. Now the third one that we have is your eyes. Now of course with eyes we tend to look at a number of different areas. The first place we look at anybody when we see them is up here. That's basically a rectangle across the face. And we look there first, then we look to see if there's a smile. So our business look is straight in there like that. Okay? Now one of the key things to remember at the business look is don't stand straight on like I am now, because this invites confrontation. Slight angle, 1 foot straight ahead, 1 foot at a 90-degree angle, and what you'll end up with is the 90-degree position. Now you can see this is like I'm a man of action, I'm ready to be in the first race, I'm starting at the gate. Now by getting yourself a slight angle you take away any aggression. So you look at the person straight away there. Now if they say I'm very happy with my existing prices and everything else, you can apply another look. It's called this, see the triangle on my forehead, which means actually the superiority look. So we can just look at somebody, just look at them ahead and think at the same time, I wonder what they're leaving out. Because as we know, everybody who's doing it cheaper has to take something out. So stick to your main business look and then you've got your superiority look. Now there's one look where you do not give to customers. It's called the emotional look. Now all of the girls have seen the guys doing it. Okay, lady walks in and a guy goes, straight up and down. Well, don't worry guys, the ladies do it as well. The ladies raise their eyebrows at the same time. So if a lady sees a good looking guy, she'll go something like, yeah, got the essentials, what else? Okay, enough about eyes. So we can use our eyes, we can use the pen, we can use our nodding of the head. So there's 3 what we call non-verbal gestures that we can actually use to encourage people to talk. Okay, so now we're starting to get information which we can start listening to, and we write them down and we start encouraging people to really give us the information. Okay, next most important thing, count to 5. Now you may wonder, what do you mean count to 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds. Now in that 5 seconds what you do is you think of a question to put on the answer that you're about to give. On the end of every answer always put a question. So when somebody says to you, What's the weight of that particular consignment? You might say, well look, it's about 45 kilos. How heavy do you want it to be? It's the person who asks the question on the end of their answer that actually gets the result. Think of it like a tennis game. I ask you a question, you give me an answer, you ask me a question back. I give you an answer, I ask you a question back. The person who asks the questions controls the interview. So the listening technique, the second most important critical point is putting a question on the end of your answer. How do you find out time? You use 5 seconds for it. So let's recap. The two most important parts of the listening technique are ask open-ended questions. The second most important part is put a question on the end of every answer. In between, we smile, we use some non-verbal gestures, we stop talking, and we count to 5. Now, as I mentioned to you at the beginning, the listening technique is 40% of the decision. If you practice these steps, you will be a better listener. Now, how do you go about practicing them? Smile at everybody you meet. Sit in the car and smile at the person next door to you. As of right now, only ever ask open-ended questions. So when you go back to work and they say, where have you been? You say, what do you want to know for? When you go home at the end of the day, instead of saying, is dinner ready? You say, what wonderful delight are we having for dinner? Focus on asking the right kind of questions. Then, pull that pen out. Nod that head. Look with your eyes. And see how much difference a bit of silence with some non-verbal gestures is going to make. And then encourage yourself to put the question at the end of every answer. Now the listening technique is what conversation is all about. Now remember, Google doesn't teach you how to listen, it just teaches you how to add it up. But conversation is where the web is heading, conversation is where sales is all about, and the personalization of selling is about being a great conversationalist. So practice the listening technique right now. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your listening technique.